Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. It is Thursday, September 29th, 2022, and I am your host, Jon Jr. And of course, wouldn't be a show without my guy, G Money, Greg Penniman. Greg, how we feeling today, bro?
Feeling real good. Just prepping really in grind mode for this week 4. This is like Wednesdays when you're really assessing the week ahead for sure. And we get Thursday night. We're looking past that, looking to all those the Sunday and Monday night games. Got a London game Sunday morning, so we got to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, we like we talked about yesterday on the Thursday night preview, we have a lot more information now. So, it's less of like that preseason talk and what we were feeling and what we were thinking and believing. And a lot of those things just start going out the window right now. And we just start really reacting to what's going on. And like you said, it's funny because we're looking past Thursday night football. We've already spoken about it. So in our minds, it's like that game has already happened.
Yep. Yeah.
But until you wake up today and you're like, oh wait, there's Thursday night football today. So if you haven't listened to that, you can go back and listen to it. You still have about 2 hours till kickoff. So you could go back and listen to that and listen to our prognostications and our bold predictions and all that fantasy goodness that's in that episode. That I'm sure all of that will come true. Everything we said in there will come true. You just have to listen to find out if it actually did. So, or you can come back on Saturday when we recap it, and then we'll talk about it then too. Just for announcement, Saturday will be a little bit early, 8 a.m. As opposed to our normal 10 a.m. start. So that's if you're watching live. That would only impact you if you're watching live. We'll be up a little bit earlier. So wake up with us. Get in the comment section. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, but just wake up and just tap in and come hang out with us, and we'll do game previews part 2 and starts of the week. And obviously, we're going to cover all the 1 p.m. games here today. So without further ado, let's just kind of start jumping right into it. And this is actually a lot because not all these games are 1 p.m. games. We have a 9:30 a.m. game that takes place in London, where the 2-1 Minnesota Vikings are taking on the New Orleans Saints, who are 1-2, and will be the home team in this game. This game has a 43.5 point total, where the Minnesota Vikings are 2.5 point favorites at this neutral site. In terms of the weather, games in London, could be rainy. In terms of injuries, Minnesota linebacker Zadarius Smith, he was DNP with a knee. Dalvin Cook, obviously the star running back for the Minnesota Vikings, he has a shoulder injury. He was able to get in a limited practice today on Thursday. Coach O'Connell, Kevin O'Connell, said that he's day-to-day. Normally I say, you guys know my line, I say day-to-day means week-to-week, but I think it actually does mean day-to-day with Dalvin Cook. He has a history of dealing with these shoulder injuries. And apparently he had a subluxation, which is not a full dislocation of the shoulder. So if you saw him on the sideline, he actually at one point couldn't hold his arm up, and then they brought him in the blue tent and they brought him back out, and he was doing all these arm things, showing he had full range of motion. So Dalvin Cook played with this injury before. He just has to play with like a shoulder harness. So he, that's something that he could do, and it doesn't limit him in any way. It just becomes like a pain tolerance type of deal. And again, Dalvin Cook did this last year, I think, on like a Monday night game or something, or Monday night or Sunday night, and he just ripped off like 200 yards. It was something crazy. So, we'll see what happens with Dalvin Cook. Just make sure you have Alexander Madison locked and loaded there. Andrew Booth, the corner, he was a DNP with a quad. And then for New Orleans, both Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry were DNPs on Wednesday with foot injuries. Jameis Winston was a DNP with a back. Alvin Kamara, he's limited with the rib injury, as well as Taysom Hill. And the Saints have a bunch of other guys questionable. So there's a lot of injuries on the Saints side. Greg, where are you with this matchup? How do you see it playing out?
I'm gonna take the over still. I'm gonna take the Minnesota Vikings to cover. The Vikings to win. Just as far as the matchup on the Viking side, I do think it might be a little bit of a struggle for Kirk Cousins. It could be, Saints are a pretty good defense. Actually, I'm gonna take the under. Yeah, thinking about it, the Saints are pretty good defense to face so far. So I'm gonna just give a slight bump by borderline QB1, maybe high in QB2 still performance. Dalvin Cook, if he can't go, just make sure you have Alexander Madison ready. I mean, I'm sure he's rostered in a pretty high percentage of leagues right now. So just monitor that news. And I think Alexander Madison is a borderline RB1 in this matchup, high in RB2. Justin Jefferson must start out there. You're throwing him out there as well. Irv Smith Jr. has some value, I think, as a streaming tight end. On the Saints side, Jameis is more of a QB2 super flex option. Alvin Kamara has talk about panic room. Alvin Kamara, man. Oh man, he's down there in the RB rankings right now. It's tough. It's tough. I don't know. I'm in a shallow league, and I'm not starting him. I have better matchups. I think I think an 8 to 10 team league. So yeah, he's not getting the reception volume that you expect. So you can definitely sway me to not be a benchable candidate for this matchup. Chris Olave, especially if Michael Thomas can't go, is I think in a good spot here. You gotta play him. I think he's a must-start option at this point. Michael Thomas, if he can go, I think he's in flex categories conversation.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under here. I'm gonna take the Vikings to cover. As our buddy here, Mike Q, says, doesn't Jameis have a broken back? Yeah, I think he does have something wrong with his back. So yeah, I will take the Minnesota Vikings to cover. And in terms of the fantasy analysis, give me Justin Jefferson. I know he's been disappointing. He has a date with Marshawn Lattimore, so it's still going to be tough. I mean, but don't be surprised if he has another down week. But he has to be in your lineup.
Yeah,
maybe there's
not Jeff.
Yeah, no, there's no way. Maybe there's a buy low opportunity here. Also expecting a down week from Kirk Cousins. I mean, we both took the under in this game. I really don't want much to do with it. If Dalvin Cook can go, like our guy Q says, Dalvin Cook can cook. I know he can cook. If he can go, I'm gonna have to put him in my lineup. I feel like unless you have better options, I'm in a league where I like to start 4 receivers. I don't really want to take the risk of starting Dalvin Cook, and I have potentially Khalil Herbert, who I can slide in there. He has a great matchup this week. I don't have to take the risk of the injury and things like that. So, depending on what your situation is, you lean on Dalvin Cook this week. Same goes for Madison. If Cook can't go, maybe a bit lower end RB2. Irv Smith is definitely streamable. For the New Orleans side, I'm 100% in agreement with you. Olave, he's got to be the top guy. I think whether MT or Jarvis Landry play or not, I mean, he's got 26 targets over the last 2 weeks or something like that, 26, 20, 27 targets. He was the NFC player of the month, has, more receiving yards than all these rookies. And he still has yet to score touchdowns. So there's even more up, and his targets are these 13 targets are not like the Hollywood Brown or Marquise, 10 yards per reception on 17 targets, right? This is deep targets down the field, high air yard totals, things of that nature. So, those are coming with high value. Alvin Kamara definitely been disappointing for sure. I think he's an RB2 flex option. Not interested in anything else. Q is asking who's worse, Kamara or Zeke?
Kamara for sure this year. As far as fantasy production, I mean Zeke at least got in the end zone. He's his we talked about his efficiency. Zeke's been pretty good for yards per carry, so I'm taking Zeke. And
Yeah, I mean, if I
Jackson
had
even
these two
you
on,
want
if I had these two on my team and I had to start one every week, it would be Zeke. He's just more dependable, even around the goal line. Like there's no fear that the third string quarterback and tight end is going to come steal a red zone touch. Like I love Kamara, man, and I'm hoping it turns around
yeah.
because he's a very talented player and not one that I want to bet against, but it's just has not been good so far. Anything else you want to add to this game, Greg?
No.
Let's move on to the first 1 p.m. game of the day. The 2-1 Tennessee Titans travel to Indianapolis to take on the 1-1 Indianapolis Colts. This game has a 43-point total according to FanDuel Sportsbook, and the Indianapolis Colts are 3-point favorites. This game is played in a dome, so no weather concerns there. In terms of injuries, JT is dealing with a toe injury. He was a DNP on Wednesday, and then practiced on limited on Thursday. So something to watch there. Seems like he's going to play. There's seems to be no concern there. They do have a few other guys questionable. Shaq Leonard, maybe he makes his appearance this week. Have no idea. For Tennessee, Treylon Burks, the wide receiver, he's dealing with an illness. Kyle Phillips, the wide receiver, he was limited with a shoulder. Austin Hooper was a DNP with a neck injury, and then they also have a bunch of other guys questionable. In this game, I will take the over on 43 points. I am going to take Tennessee to cover 3 points and thus win this game. On the Indy side, I think JT, he's an RB1. Michael Pittman Jr., he's a wide receiver 1. I think Matt Ryan has some decent streaming value this week, or maybe if you're playing in 2 quarterback leagues, is an option for you as your second quarterback. Tennessee's pass defense is not one that is very good. Neither one of these pass defenses are very good, actually. But Hines, I think, then also has some RB3 appeal as a flex option. And then Derrick Henry from in redraft, I think he's the only player on the Tennessee side that I want to play. But I think this game has some sneaky, I know we talked about Treylon Burks last week and it didn't come through, but I think he has some sneaky upside from a DFS perspective, or maybe if you're really desperate for a flex this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the Colts to cover. I'm taking the Colts to win. I pretty much agree with you on the Indy side. JT should be in a bounce back spot here. He should recover, and it's got a good matchup. There's points to be scored though for sure. Even though I'm taking the under. Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver 1, another must start. Matt Ryan, I think, QB2 territory. I think superflex category. As far as the Tennessee side, Derrick Henry, I'm definitely looking at. Robert Woods, and got going a little bit. So I think he's in flex category as far. And Treylon Burks still, though, I'm gonna agree with you, has the more upside. I think he's gonna get right for sure. I think these rookie receivers got to give him time, and they're all emerging, kind of week after week. So I think Treylon Burks' time is coming.
Yeah, he's definitely somebody that I would stash. I mean, again, we talk about this. If you have a roster spot, pick up Treylon Burks. You don't have to start him. Just keep him on your bench. And if you play on an app like Yahoo or Sleeper, it'll allow you to drop him after his game has been played, depending on this. That's the default setting for the leagues. So you could go ahead and maybe pick up a backup running back, right, from one of the 4:00 games, and in case an injury happens, or one of my guys, Rob Norton, on Twitter, he put out something that I definitely subscribe to in 2 quarterback leagues. If you play in 2 quarterback leagues, pick up valuable backup quarterbacks, right? Like, if Baltimore's playing, pick up Tyler Huntley, right? just in case, right? So like it's the same, it's literally the same concept for these high-end backup running backs. So just a note. Speaking of Tyler Huntley and Lamar Jackson, This game should be in. It's not.
Oh, man.
NFL messed up here. So
I'm hoping that it's at least the Tony Romo game. At least Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. Gotta be.
I don't know, because don't they usually do that at 4 o'clock?
Yeah, they do. You're right.
So
this game is crazy right now. I can't believe this matchup is at 1 o'clock. Like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, the two best fantasy quarterbacks right now, with Jalen Hurts. Like, this is what you want, and just two best players in football.
Crazy.
Two
MVP players that people thought were going to be terrible out of their draft class.
Yeah, well, people still think Lamar is terrible. I feel like they still sleep on him. It's crazy.
Yeah. But you know who's not? Baltimore, because they're gonna have to pay up.
Cha-ching with every game.
That's all Baltimore is gonna hear.
Oh man. Just like the Yankees were judged, man. Every game. Every home run.
I told you, Greg, stop talking about baseball. Like, it's funny. I was listening to the fantasy footballers, and they were talking about baseball players, and Jason Moore was saying how many baseball players could he name, and then it got me thinking, Greg, how many baseball players do you think I can name, like all time? Do you think I could name 20?
You 20?
Yeah, all time.
Like all time, current and past. No.
You don't think I can make 20?
No.
I was really thinking about it. I was like, I think I can hit 20.
You get 10.
Right. You think I can get 10? All right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this later.
Yeah,
we'll do it later. All right, let's talk about enough talking about baseball. Let's talk about football now. The 2-1 Buffalo Bills traveled to Baltimore to take on the 2-1 Baltimore Ravens. This game has a 51.5 point total. The Buffalo Bills are 3.5 point road favorites. In terms of the weather, there seems to be quite a bit of rain in the Northeast. So just monitor that across all these games. Running back J.K. Dobbins, he's no longer on the injury report with that knee injury, so that's definitely good news. Michael Pierce, the defensive tackle, dealing with a bicep injury. Edge Justin Houston dealing with a groin, and guard Patrick McCarry, he's questionable with a sprained ankle. For Buffalo, Gabe Davis still dealing with an ankle injury. Dawson Knox was limited with a foot. And then this is big news that I'm hit on Saturday, but I guess I missed it. Safety Micah Hyde was placed on injured reserve. So that's one of the star safeties, along with Jordan Poyer, who was injured last week. So that's definitely a blow to the Buffalo defense. They have a bunch of other guys questionable, but Greg, where are you going with this game? Q is asking over under 75.
75.
Q saying
I was
probably
thinking about
over.
But I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Baltimore to cover. I'm taking Baltimore to win. I just think Lamar Jackson's gonna make it happen, man. I don't know. I just something for me just thinks Lamar Jackson's gonna take it over. I think he's of all those three quarterbacks I just talked about, I think Lamar Jackson's the MVP favorite right now, slightly, but he's just that guy right now. It's all him. He's the QB1, I think, in fantasy this week. Even with the tough matchup, he's gonna make it happen. Mark Andrews tied in one. The receivers is tough. Bateman is in the boom or bust category. I think if you really are looking for some points, maybe, but I think he's more of a low end flex. I think you can find some better matchups because Buffalo's corners are still pretty good. I think Mark Andrews kind of leads the way for this passing game, and Duvernay maybe as well. On the Buffalo side, Josh Allen also part of the QB1, QB2 with Lamar Jackson. Devin Singletary, I think, is an option as a strong running RB2. Diggs, wide receiver 1, you must start as well. And Gabe Davis as well. The secondary for Baltimore has been pretty terrible. So I'm starting all those pass catchers. Diggs, Knox, and also Isaiah McKenzie, I think, has some deeper leaf intrigue.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over here. I think we get a shootout. Buffalo's pass defense, I feel like, is taking a hit, right? You can't lose You can only lose
Yeah.
so many star players. No Tre'Davious White, no Micah Hyde.
True.
Jordan Poyer's banged up. Like you can
Yeah.
only that defense can only get hit so much without eventually like the dam has to break at some point. And I love it because that's great for great for fantasy, right? Like, so I'm all for it. So give me the over in this game. Give me Baltimore to cover. But I will take Buffalo to win this game on the road.
On the road.
Yeah.
In Lamar's house.
In Lamar's house. That's crazy. I know. But this could be like a potential AFC championship preview that we're getting right here with these two teams. Yeah, Lamar's rolling right now. He's got a 11% touchdown rate. That is, I mean, that's obviously it's through 3 weeks, but it's still higher than the 9% touchdown rate that he had in his MVP season in 2019. You know, he's on pace for over 4,400 passing yards, 57 touchdowns to go along with 1,300 rushing yards. Like, these are video game type numbers that Lamar Jackson is putting up.
I mean, we knew this was coming, man. He didn't get that money. Contract years. You give me a team of players with contract years, we going 17-0.
Especially a team of players. But especially when they're as this good as Lamar Jackson is.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, give me that all day. Like I said, I think Buffalo's pass defense is trending in a bad direction. Mark Andrews, tight end 2 option. Rashad Bateman. He's in play in a game with a high total, but you just have to understand, like Greg was talking about, the volatility that is there with the Rashad Bateman. He's been living off these big plays. And we saw last week when he doesn't get it, he doesn't get those big plays. There's not much of a floor there. I mean, granted, he did have a fumble, but only 5 points in a PPR league. Just not going to cut it every week. So you just got to understand the volatility that you're getting from a guy like Rashad Bateman. If you have to make sure you pair him with a guy with a high floor, maybe like a Drake London, right? To be able to balance out the volatility that you're going to get from Rashad Bateman week to week. I think Devin Duvernay, he's in a similar boat as well. The only real constant in this pass offense is Mark Andrews. He's the only guy you can really depend on week to week. Dobbins seems to be on a pitch count to not be on the injury report this week.
The running game, for sure.
Yeah, so for him to be not be on the injury report this week, I feel like is a good sign in terms of those touches trending in the right direction. But I still think it's a little bit too early. I think I want to, like with JK, I want to see it first. I want to see that game where you end up getting 10 to 15 touches, and I feel good about starting you next week. On the Buffalo side, Josh Allen, good bet I think he finishes as the QB1 just mainly because of what he's going to have to do. I mean, just think about what Josh Allen is going to have to do. Like, he threw
400 yards.
He threw 400 yards, and they scored 19 points, 17 offensive points. So, I think this is going to be a weekly occurrence of Josh Allen running around trying to make plays every week because of this defense. At some point, again, the dam is going to break. Stephon Diggs, he can be the wide receiver 1. I think Gabe Davis has a ton of upside. He might still be limited by that ankle. Wasn't limited in terms of snaps or routes, but he was, wasn't as effective as we've seen. Did it have to do with the matchup or the ankle? I'm more tend to lean towards the ankle. McKenzie's in play in this matchup, and Devin Singletary, if he's involved as a pass catcher, this week as he was last week, I think that adds to his floor, which could make him a top 20 option this week.
Yeah, Devin Singletary has been a great value this year at fantasy.
For sure. All right, let's move on to this next matchup, which is the 1-2 Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Houston to take on the 0-2-1 Houston Texans. This game has a 44.5 point total, where the LA Chargers are 5.5 point road favorites in this matchup. In terms of weather, there's no concerns there. In terms of injuries, running back Dameon Pierce, he's limited with a hip. And then the Texans have a bunch of other guys questionable. But on the Chargers side, Justin Herbert, the star quarterback, he's dealing with a rib injury. So obviously he played last week, probably going to be limited this week. Keenan Allen dealing with a hamstring. He's limited Rashawn Slater, the left tackle, was put on injured reserve with a torn bicep injury. And then Joey Bosa, the star pass rusher for the Chargers, was added to injured reserve with a groin injury. So that's definitely a blow to that Chargers defense. Jalen Guyton, he's been added to the injured reserve as well with a knee. In this game here, I will take the over. I will take Houston to cover, and I will take the Chargers to win the game. I think on the Houston side, Dameon Pierce, he's in another good spot this week. I think he needs to be in your lineup as a very, very strong RB2 with, even RB1 upside. Brandon Cooks, he's a strong wide receiver 3 option. On the Charger side, Herbert is the matchup on paper doesn't look very good, but you got to trust your studs here and Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen. If he returns this week, you got to play him as well. Mike Williams had a down week, but again, you have to embrace the volatility.
That's what he is, yeah.
Williams. Like, you drafted him, you can't tilt when he puts up 0 because you're excited when he puts up 30. So, Gerald Everett, he's definitely a nice streaming option as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'm taking the Chargers to cover, Chargers to win. On the Houston side, I pretty much agree with you. I like Dameon Pierce. I think he's becoming a must-start option. Brandon Cooks, you're hoping he can bounce back this week. I mean, he's just had a little tough start, but I think this is the get-right matchup for him, hopefully. So he's definitely in, I think, low-end wide receiver 2 territory, but he's got some high-end wide receiver 2 upside right now. And for the Chargers side, you're starting Herbert. I mean, the man still almost got 1,000 yards through his first 3 games. He's still balling out there. So you're playing him. Eckler has been a little tough this year. I think he's in our low end. He's not.
I didn't even talk about Eckler.
Low end RB2. He's RB2. Low RB2. Yeah.
Let me see where I have him.
DeAndre Carter and Keenan Allen. I think all 3 receivers have some intrigue, but Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, then DeAndre Carter will be my rankings for sure. I love 3 of them.
Again, based on projections, this is not my rankings, but based on projections, I have him as the RB30.
So RB3.
It's an RB3, yeah.
Yeah.
So he'll probably end up as an RB2 for me when it's
RB2.
all said and done. But RB2 or 3, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said you're into the receivers.
And Jared Everett. Yeah.
Jared Everett? Okay.
Yeah, all the pass catchers, but yeah, Keenan Allen for sure. He's alpha if he's going to be there.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup here, which is the 1-2 Seattle Seahawks traveling to Detroit to take on the 1-2 Detroit Lions. This game has a 50-point total, and the Detroit Lions are 6-point favorites in this one at home. This game is played in a dome. In terms of injuries, Deandre Swift has been a DNP all week. There's no expectation that he will play, although he is still questionable. Amon-Ra St. Brown was DNP on Wednesday and Thursday. It also sounded like early in the week that the Lions believe that he could do well with some rest. But I don't think Amon-Ra St. Brown does not strike me as the kind of guy that wants to miss a football game.
Yeah. So, the tear he's on right now, he doesn't want to leave the field now.
No. So, I mean, did you heard what he was saying about Diami Brown last week? Did you see that?
Nah, I didn't. No.
He was just like talking about after his game against Washington, the big game he had, and they were like, "Oh yeah, because he remembers all the receivers that were drafted ahead of him," and he was like, "Yeah, I was before the game, I was looking at the sideline, just seeing Diami Brown over there." He's like, "I don't think he played much."
Yo. Oh man, amazing.
This dude he's a dog. I've said it before. You
gotta have that different mentality in football, man. You gotta really, he's different.
He's different. 202 balls a day. He's different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he does give it a go this week. but just be mindful that he is dealing with this ankle. So not saying you want to sit him, but just be aware that he might not be available to you. So you have an option to pivot to. TJ Hawkinson, he's a DNP with a foot. Bunch of other guys are questionable for the Lions. For Seattle, Travis Homer, the running back, was placed on IR with a rib injury. Greg, where are you going here with this matchup?
I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks to cover, but I'm going to take the Lions to win this game. As far as the matchup, I do like, both offenses, like their matchups in this. On Seattle side, Geno Smith, I think, is a streaming option. Again, he's my streamer of the week, coming off a probably best game of the season so far as yardage. So you're playing him. I think is some definitely high in QB2, but some QB1 upside. Rashard Penny, I think he's an RB2 option. As far as the receivers, if I like Geno Smith, I like these receiving options. I think Tyler Lockett might have the edge in this one because Jeff Okudah has been bad actually this year. He's getting better. He's probably going to see DK Metcalf. But so I think this might be a Tyler Lockett game. But I think you can still have a intrigue in some DK Metcalf as a flex option. On the Detroit side, Jared Goff I think is also in a good spot here. I think Jared Goff could easily finish over Geno Smith. I think he's a borderline QB1 for me. He's been playing solid so far this season. Deandre Swift is not going to be there, so Jamal Williams I think is an RB1 option. Amon St. Brown, wide receiver 1 option. You're starting him. If TJ Hawkinson can go, he has a good matchup. So I would have him out there as a tight end 1 option.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna take the under here. I'm gonna take Detroit to cover. Gonna take Detroit to win the game here. Yeah, I'm taking the under just because Detroit actually runs the ball 63% of the time in early down neutral game situations.
Jamal Williams, wow. Wow.
And when you talk about matchups, Seattle in those situations is the 32nd ranked run defense. So I just see a lot of running the ball.
That's C green right there.
That's C green. So I see a lot of running the football. I see, that potentially Detroit just kind of running away with this one here. Because when you can't stop the run, like,
yeah,
you really got no shot at it. No. So, that's why I take the under here. That's why for me, Jamal Williams is an RB1 this week. Amon St. Brown, he's if he can go, he's a wide receiver 1. He's going to be in your lineup. Jared Goff, I think, is a decent QB2 option this week. But I don't know if I have him much higher than that. And then for Seattle, I think DK and Lockett are wide receiver 3 options, or wide receiver 2 upside. Like, obviously, one of those guys can have more value week to week than the other. And then Geno Smith, I think, again, he's also a strong QB2 option as well in 2 quarterback leagues, and a nice streaming option. Q is asking, does Geno still owe the dude from the Jets $600? I don't know if they ever figured that out. Geno Smith, if you don't know, got punched in the jaw, broke his jaw right before the season started back for the Jets because he owed somebody $600. So, yeah. Greg, anything else you want to add to this matchup?
Nah.
Well, speaking of Geno Smith and the New York Jets, we are going to talk about the New York Jets here. The 1-2 New York Jets traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the 1-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are 3.5-point home favorites, and this game has a total of 41.5. In this matchup here, in terms of weather, there is some potential rain. In terms of injuries, the New York Jets have put George Fant, their left tackle, on injured reserve. Linebacker Quincy Williams is doubtful with a high ankle sprain. John Franklin Myers, their defensive lineman, is questionable, as is Brandon Eccles, one of their cornerbacks. For Pittsburgh, Minka Fitzpatrick, he was a full participant in practice after being questionable with a concussion. He is still listed as questionable, but getting a full practice in is a good sign for him. And cornerback Akilo Weatherspoon is questionable with a hamstring. In terms of the game here, I am going to take the under. I'm going to take Pittsburgh to cover 3.5. I'm going to take Pittsburgh to win the game for the New York Jets. Breece Hall was more involved last week. I think he's an RB2 option. With Zach Wilson coming back, I don't know how much upside both of these running backs will have, Michael Carter and Breece Hall, as pass catchers. Joe Flacco was very limited in terms of his mobility, and he's prone to dumping the ball off to these running backs. I don't know if Zach Wilson is going to really do that. So I would probably lean towards one running back over the other instead of feeling like you could play both of them week to week. Garrett Wilson is a wide receiver 3 option for me this week, with Wilson returning to the lineup. Tyler Conklin, I use my tight end stream of the week. I still think he's a tight end 1 option this week. And then for Pittsburgh, Najee Harris is a wide receiver, a running back, a high-end running back 2 with RB1 upside. Deontay Johnson, a high-end wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside. Pat Freiermuth is a tight end 1. And then I think George Pickens remains somebody that I would like to stash if you have space on your roster.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the Jets to cover, and I'm gonna take the Jets to win. Actually, I think why you should have Kenny Pickett on your stash, because still this offense has been absolutely horrible. So I think the Jets can take advantage of that. On the Steelers side, Najee Harris is a RB2 option, strong RB2 option, volume based. He's still got 40 carries, still getting some of those targets. The receiving options, Deontay Johnson is probably the guy I'm looking at as far as a wide receiver 2. Still getting targeted heavily, so it's hard to keep him out your lineups. And then on Pat Freiermuth, he's a low end tight end 1 value. On the Jet side, I agree with you with the running back situation. I think Breece Hall is gaining momentum. I think I think he still has a higher upside rest of the season as well. So I think they are both in the RB2 category, but I think I would put Michael Carter with a little bit more upside. Garrett Wilson is the receiver I want to play this week, but actually, and Elijah Moore. I mean, him having Zach Wilson back he has that chemistry with Elijah Moore, so maybe this could be a get right matchup for him. And then Tyler Conklin, I'm very willing to play.
Yeah, I didn't even want to bring Elijah Moore up because I've been saying every week, I feel like we can play him. I feel like we can play him. I feel like we can play him. And
he's a stash for sure. But I think, he's a stash. But I think he's gonna be a reason you're like, oh, maybe I can play him next week.
Yeah, and the thing is Q is asking this question. Zach Wilson expected to start this week. Who has more upside, Moore or Garrett Wilson? I still think it's Garrett Wilson. Just because he leads the team in targets. Granted, those have all been targets from Joe Flacco. But I just unless I get new information that tells me differently, because there is a league where I have both of these guys, actually multiple leagues where I have both of them, and I'm choosing to start Garrett Wilson over Elijah Moore until I get new information that tells me I need to react differently.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, moving on to this next matchup. Should be an interesting one. The 2-1 Jacksonville Jaguars travel to Philadelphia to take on a 3-0 Philadelphia Eagles. This game has a 48.5 point total, where the Philadelphia Eagles are 6.5 point home favorites. Greg, what say you in regards to this matchup here?
I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Jacksonville cover, but I'm gonna still take the Eagles to win. I think now this would be great to see this offense for the Eagles have to play the entire game. I don't think they blow Jacksonville out. So it'd be nice just more production, honestly, out of Jalen Hurts. Right there with Lamar and Josh Allen as far as the fantasy QB I want. He's just been balling this year. Miles Sanders is in the RB2 territory for me. AJ Brown, of course, you're starting him. Must start. Devontae Smith is a must start as well. Dallas Goedert is also a must start. Those 3 pass catchers have been balling this year. On the Jags side, Trevor Lawrence, I think if you can find a better matchup, I would definitely, go that option. I don't think he kills you. I think he's in that high in QB2 territory. Um, James Robinson, definitely the running back I'm willing to play. Strong RB2, some RB1 upside, and Christian Kirk. He's been doing well this year. I think he's the receiver I want to play. Zay Jones, I think think if you can find a better matchup, he's a more of a I would try to avoid him a little bit. But Christian Kirk, I think, is still playable as a flex value.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under here. I'm with you on Jacksonville making this game close. I do think that they cover the 6.5. Philadelphia will win this game though. In terms of the fantasy analysis, I think Christian Kirk, he's still a wide receiver 1, gets a little bit of a downgrade this week because of the Philly pass defense and how good they've been, but his volume is going to be there. So he gets those red zone opportunities. So I think that all of that is still going to, give him a nice floor week to week. Zay Jones gets a downgrade for me this week. I think he's more of like a wide receiver 3 or 4, desperation flex. But and again, I'm with you on Trevor Lawrence. I like him a lot. We even picked him up in one of our leagues, Greg, but this is not the week that I want to start him. Definitely not the week against this defense. So, think he could take a back seat this week. James Robinson, he's been great, but I see him again as an RB2 this week. Travis Etienne has RB3 flex appeal. And then on the Philly side, Jalen Hurts, locked and loaded, high-end QB1. I mean, could be the QB1 every week. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, strong wide receiver 1s with Brown having the edge there. And the Miles Sanders, he's an RB3 for me this week with Dallas Goedert being a tight end 1 option.
Yeah, I love it. Eagles have 4 must starts, man, with those 2 receivers, the tight end and Hurts. It's great.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Revenge game though. Doug Peterson. There you go.
Yes, sir. Doug Peterson revenge game. Coaching for the Jags. Was how crazy is the Eagles go from having to play Carson Wentz last week
Word
to having to play Doug Peterson this week? So
their whole Super Bowl, that's crazy. 2 instrumental pieces of that Super Bowl. Yeah.
Well, he didn't actually play in the Super Bowl.
I know, that record. He had to get him that record.
No, he got the record. What was it, like 11-2?
Yeah, they were the number 1 seed before he left. Yeah.
Well, I know there's a quarterback in this next game that we are willing to play over Trevor Lawrence. There might actually be 2 quarterbacks. I would play ahead of Trevor Lawrence. That sounds disgusting on the way out, but
it does. Surface value, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The 2-1 Cleveland Browns travel to Atlanta to take on the 1-2 Atlanta Falcons. This game has a 49.5 point total, where the Cleveland Browns are 1.5 point road favorites in this matchup. This game is in a dome, so there's no injury concerns or no weather concerns there. For Cleveland, in terms of injuries, Denzel Ward, their cornerback, he's questionable with a back. Jadeveon Clowney was a DNP with an ankle. And then Myles Garrett, who suffered this scary car accident, is dealing with, shoulder injury, lacerations, some, other, injuries as well. Not, non-life-threatening injuries. He was DNP. I think he's highly questionable for this game. Linebacker Anthony Walker was added to the injured reserve. And then there's a few guys on the offensive line that are questionable. And I could have sworn I had the Atlanta stuff down, but I guess I don't. But I do know that Cordell Patterson was DNP Wednesday and Thursday. So that's definitely something to monitor there.
I think right now they don't have any injured players really too.
Yeah, and I have the injury report in front of me. Yeah, I'm not seeing. Yeah, that's what it was. I guess they didn't really have anything crazy going on. The only real situation outside of Atlanta or coming out of Atlanta is the Cordell Patterson injury situation. So something to monitor. He was DNP Wednesday, Thursday, but they also listed him. It was a rest/knee, so that implies that he's okay, but something to definitely monitor. Tyler Algier is the backup there and probably see the bulk of the work along with Avery Williams. But Greg, in terms of this matchup, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take Atlanta to cover. I'm going to take Atlanta to win. Like you said, we're going with Mariota. I think he's a strong streaming option. Is me being less hyperbolic than I actually want to be. I really like Mariota this week, but I really like Mariota this week. Drake London, he's got to be a wide receiver 1. If Cordell Patterson can go, he's a high-end RB2. If he can't go, Algier is probably more like a running back 3. Kyle Pitts, top 5 tight end option for me this week. And then for Cleveland, Jacoby Brissett, again, he's a strong streaming option. He's my stream of the week at the quarterback position. Nick Chubb is an RB1, Kareem Hunt an RB2. Amari Cooper is a wide receiver 1 this week. I think he has a great matchup here against Atlanta. And then David Njoku, a strong tight end option this week.
Yeah, I'm with you with all the analysis. I'm gonna take the under though slightly. I'm gonna take the Browns to cover. I'm gonna take the Browns to win. I think these teams are like it's gonna be a 50-50 who could win this game. As far as the fantasy analysis, I agree with you pretty much. It's because Mariota has such a strong floor in this one. I think because he's got to get a rushing touchdown. I mean, yeah, Cleveland's giving him up right now to quarterbacks, and also just he's been solid with his rushing, and he has 3 touchdown passes on the year, so he's gonna add that as well to his floor. Cordell Patterson, if he goes, I think he's a low end RB1. Drake London, I think if you throw him out there, strong wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 1 upside. Kyle Pitts as well. Agree with you, top 5 option on Cleveland. Nick Chubb must start. Amari Cooper must start as well. Kareem Hunt, RB2 option, and yeah, Brissett. If you think Amari Cooper is gonna be killing, Jacoby Brissett is gonna have to do with that. I would still like Mariota more than Brissett, for sure. But Brissett has some streaming value.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't pick Mariota as my stream of the week is because I thought about picking him as my start of the week. So yeah, I have him over Brissett, who is my stream of the week. But I think that this game has a ton of upside, and these I can't believe I'm talking about Jacoby Brissett and Marcus Mariota in week 4, but it's happening. We're here. So
crazy.
Moving on to this next matchup, the 2-1 Chicago Bears traveling to MetLife Stadium to take on the 2-1 New York Giants. This game has a 39-point total, where the New York Giants are 3-point favorites. Greg, in terms of whether there is some potential rain in this game.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, you could have said anything worse to add to a 39-point under, like over under.
No, you said it right the first time, the 39-point under.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like that was without the forecast. Like you didn't need that forecast to make that line.
Oh, okay. I could do this. I could hold it together. I could still do this show. All right. Chicago, in terms of injuries, tight end Ryan Griffin, limited with an Achilles. Linebacker Roquan Smith, limited with the quad. Wide receiver Velus Jones Jr., limited with a hamstring. David Montgomery, the running back for Chicago, he's DNP Wednesday and Thursday with the ankle/knee. This is the weirdest injury because we have no idea what it is. Is it an MCL sprain? Is it like a bone bruise? Is it a high ankle sprain? We have not been told. We have no idea. And so we have no idea how long to expect David Montgomery to be out for. So we'll just have to wait until Sunday when the inactives come out. Thank God this is a 1 p.m. game. So I gotta know if I gotta get Khalil Herbert in there.
Facts. I'm already sliding him in my lineups. I have him in the league with Dave Montgomery. So ESPN has the projections already as that for Montgomery is 0. So they know something.
I don't know, but Yahoo has it like 11 or 13 for Dave Montgomery, and I'm like, what's going on here? So, they in terms of the New York Giants and their injuries. Byron Pringle for the wide receiver for. Not that wide receivers matter for Chicago, but anyway, wide receiver Byron Pringle added to the injured reserve with a calf. In terms of the New York Giants, Sterling Shepard. I'm sorry, Sterling. I wish I had some sad music to play. I'm really sorry.
Tough,
I feel really bad about
that. Like the way it happened is crazy. I've never seen him.
I've watched that video like 17 times to see, all right, at what point did you tear your ACL? And I literally cannot find it. I need to go watch like Pro Football Doc or something, or one of these other injury analysis guys out there to see like, yo, where did he tear his ACL? Because it just looked so crazy. Mike Q says, Kenny Galladay.
That's tough, bro. 1.5. If you said at 1.5, I'm taking the under.
I might take the under.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's going to get 2 targets. He might drop both of them.
Yep. Or not even be there, like catchable. Yeah.
Well, they're probably going to need him this week. Sterling Shepard going on the injured reserve. Kadarius Toney being
that doesn't mean anything, yo.
DMP with a hamstring.
He could be the only receiver on the field, yo.
He could be the only receiver on the sideline, and they would put like, all right, so that's it. We're gonna run 32 personnel.
4 tight ends, yeah. No.
3 tight ends, 2 running backs. That's it.
Yep.
So yeah, sorry. Leonard Williams, he was limited with a knee, and Jahad Ward, DMP with a knee. Greg, where are you at with this game?
We're gonna spend more time cutting on these teams than actually talking about the fantasy analysis of these teams. That's how bad these offenses are. I literally want the running backs, and that's it. Khalil Herbert, Saquon Barkley, Richie James as flex value. There you go. That's the game right there. Khalil Herbert, Saquon. Right. Oh, I'm taking the under. I'm taking the Giants to cover and the Giants to win. The defenses get it done. That's why the streams are weak for both of us. But yeah. The Giants defense gets it done.
I'm taking the Giants to cover. I'm taking the Giants to win. Khalil Herbert, Saquon Barkley, Richie James, and the Blitz.
We can go back to talking how bad these teams are. Like Quamius St. Brown is the leading receiver with 77 yards on his team. 77.
Will there be more sacks or points in this game?
I don't know. Oh man, or definitely more. Yeah, more sacks. More sack. They should be definitely more sacks than field goals. But field goals would probably be
sacks plus turnovers or points.
I'm gonna go with it's tough. That's tough.
Hey, if there's 5 sacks, but the Giants win like 3-0.
No, it'll be like 10-3 or like
10-3, yeah. 17,
7,
yeah.
7, yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That was interesting. There's one game left. We could do it. This game is nearly not as bad, and Cooper Rush and Carson Wentz are playing in it, and it's still not as bad.
You're right.
The 1-2 Washington Commanders travel to Dallas to take on the 2-1 Dallas Cowboys. This game has a 42-point total, and the Dallas Cowboys are 3-point home favorites. This game is played in the Dome, so no weather concerns there. Dalton Schultz, he's limited with a knee. Michael Gallup, full participant with a knee. Dak Prescott, he is out for week 4, but he says he could return for week 5. And then there's a bunch of other guys questionable. And in terms of Washington's injuries, I don't think they have much. Yeah, there's nothing much. They just have a bunch of guys questionable. but no major concerns or doubts for this game. In this matchup, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Dallas to cover the 3 points. I'm gonna take Dallas to win. Pollard and Zeke are both RB2s for me. CeeDee Lamb, a strong wide receiver 2 option. This matchup is great, but obviously Cooper Rush is a quarterback who he's been great still, but I don't love CeeDee as much. I don't, as I would if Dak was the quarterback. Noah Brown, could see his role reduced with Michael Gallup returning to the lineup. Cooper Rush, I think is a strong option in 2 quarterback leagues. I mean, if Cooper Rush wasn't out there like scoring 13 fantasy points a game, like I would probably be more open to playing him in this matchup against Washington. But I don't know how much. It's like they're trying to hide Cooper Rush.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
It's like everything is like hand the ball off, or these quick throws, or like a design play to get CD open. So I think he's a strong option in 2 quarterback leagues. In terms of Washington, Curtis Samuel is the wide receiver that I want to play in Washington. Antonio Gibson is an RB2. Terry McLaurin is a wide receiver 3 flex option. And I'm doing everything I can to not have to play Logan Thomas.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take Dallas to cover and Dallas to win. I think the way the Eagles line dominated Carson Wentz last week, I mean, I see no different with the Dallas line. They're going to eat on Carson Wentz. So I think that'll be the difference. On Dallas side, which Zeke and Pollard are both RB2s. They've both been running well. I mean, I think these guys have some upside, especially when Dak comes back. So I would be, a little bit more hopeful about them as they get more touchdown opportunities soon in the weeks to come. Michael Gallup, I think he's a stash still this week. I kind of want to see it as far as the receivers. Besides CeeDee Lamb, you're starting him because his target volume is crazy right now. And yeah, on the Washington side, Antonio Gibson, he's an RB2 for me. I'm avoiding Carson Wentz again. If the sack rate has been crazy, especially last week. Curtis Samuel, though, I'm with you as far as PPR. He's been a monster so far. Not a monster, but he's been very solid with his floor. And yeah, Terry McLaurin's flex value for sure. So that's about it.
You're not gonna help me through with this Logan Thomas thing, though.
Nah, we have to mention him.
Are you playing him though? Like, would you play him?
No.
Bro, this is where I'm at right now. We talked about the Buffalo game in Baltimore, and I did mention this, and I wanted to, but Isaiah Likely, like, I'm looking at him, like, because in the League of Extraordinary People, I have Lamar. The game is like, we're expecting shootouts. Likely has been a little bit more involved in some of these games. I'm like, am I too crazy? Is that too crazy? Do I just take like my 5 points from Logan Thomas?
This is for our league, Extraordinary People?
League of Extraordinary People.
Oh, man. Oh, yo, just get Cameron Brate.
I mean, if I want 5 points, I'm just going to start Logan Thomas.
Like, all right. Will you get that, though? Will you even get 5?
I think he got me 5 last week. I don't remember what it was.
He has 3, 3, and 3 catches. That's 3, 3, and 2 on the year.
Oh, God.
It's been bad.
It's been bad.
He had 2 receptions for 5 yards last week.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
Cameron,
I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, man.
Juwan Johnson
brought up a 0 last week.
Yeah, he did. Oh, man, it's rough out here. Yeah, Cameron Brate is your only option. Unless you want to just take
the shot on Likely, though. Am I crazy?
Nah, actually not crazy for playing anyone over Logan Thomas.
I'll think about it some more. I'll let the people know what I decide.
Yeah.
All right. That is it for the early slate of games. Obviously, this is always fun. Almost didn't make it through the rest of
somewhere else. Like place that somewhere. A matchup like that, you got to put that like last. Yeah.
That game should have been the 9:30 game, right? So like,
ooh, yeah. So we just wake up.
You just wake up and it's like, oh, it's. You'll be grateful for it, right? Because it's 9:30 football. Yeah. And then you don't have to worry about like. There's only like so many people that have Khalil Herbert and Saquon Barkley and Richie James. You like wouldn't even have to worry about the lineup blocking or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, Greg, anything else you want to say to the people before we close this out?
No, man, I'm excited for this Thursday night game. Tua should be playing, so should be real good. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, we get Tua, we get Jalen Waddle, both on the injury report. We get a little rematch, a little SEC.
I heard that smoke with Eli Apple. So yeah.
I haven't heard it yet, but I'm gonna look it up right now. And then
bet.
stick Tyreek Hill in a bunch of DFS lineups before the game starts.
Yeah.
All right, people. We will catch y'all on Saturday, 8 a.m., bright and early, right here, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, via Periscope, however you want to watch us, however you want to consume this content. Hey, if you're listening on a podcast, it means you're just going to get the podcast a little bit earlier as soon as you wake up on Saturday. So we'll catch y'all later. We will see y'all next week or on Saturday. Have a good one, and we're out of here.
Yeah.